But as a Republican, my Republican friends keep saying, but your vote is going to go for the left. You're helping Hillary. I'm not helping Hillary. I'm voting with honor. And then my friends over on the left are saying, but you're helping Trump. I'm sorry, I can't vote for the lady. I'm not helping Trump. I'm voting my conscience. I'm voting my honor. I'm voting because I have 3 daughters. I'm voting because I have a grandson. I'm voting because I want to be remembered as someone in this historic moment did the right thing. I'm voting for Gary Johnson. And what an incredible honor. What an incredible honor for me to introduce to you the gentleman who will be the next president of our nation. Give a big hand to Gary Johnson!
So here it is. I mean, we've got 3 choices. And I say 3 choices. There are only 3 candidates on the ballot in all 50 states. Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, and Gary Johnson and Bill Weld. So, 3 choices. So, as polarized as Congress is right now, I mean, the agenda on both sides is to kill one another, right? I mean, is the polarization, if either one of those 2 get elected, going to get any better? No way. No way. So there is a third alternative, and that would be this big 6-lane highway down the middle. Philosophically speaking, I think 60% of Americans are fiscally conservative, socially inclusive. I think 60% of Americans are skeptical about our military interventions when we involve ourselves in regime change. It's just never worked out. Hasn't worked out in my lifetime. And then I think that when informed, I think we're all about free market. And free market is devoid of government interference. Government picking winners and losers, that's crony capitalism. And none of us appreciate crony capitalism, equal opportunity. Amazingly, I am leading in 3 demographics, or tied among young people, 18 to 34. Come from really nowhere to be tied with Hillary among young people. So the portent is come election day, might actually win among young people, which is really significant. And why is that? I'd like to think it's because of the following. I'd like to think that young people recognize that, gee, my generation is going to get health care, my generation is going to get retirement, my generation is going to get the Affordable Health Care Act paid for by young, healthy people, and because I'm older and not as healthy. So young people, I think, recognize the importance of actual balancing the federal budget. This is for young people. And young people are those that are being asked to go to war, to actually put their lives on the line. And what are they putting their lives on the line for? Well, they should be putting their lives on the line if we're attacked. That's what they signed up for, to protect you and I, our freedoms, our liberties. But I'm afraid they're halfway around the globe fighting wars that really put us in a policeman kind of a state. And that wasn't what they signed up for. I'm also leading among independents, which is really significant because 50% of Americans right now, when they are going to register to vote, are registering as independent. It just slays me that what we have are 2 choices, Democrats, Republicans. Let's see, 28% of America says they're Democrat, 26% of America says they're Republican, the rest independent, libertarians, green. Where is that representation? Well, it's just a snow job when it comes to there is other representation, and I do think that that representation really represents the majority of Americans. The notion of being inclusive, socially inclusive, marriage equality, something that is really important. Look, abortion. Can there be a more difficult choice in anyone's life when it comes to abortion? Well, that would be the woman involved, and no, there couldn't be a more difficult choice. But who but the woman involved should be making that choice? It should be the woman involved. And then we have the highest incarceration rate of any country in the world. I refuse to believe that we are any less law-abiding in this country than any other country in the world, but guess what? The roots of that lie in the drug war. Let's bring an end to the drug war. Let's legalize marijuana.
For that, actually.
And I do believe California is going to vote to legalize marijuana this fall, and I think when they do that, I think that's going to really be the toppling of the wall. And what's going to happen when that happens, I do believe that this country is going to look at the drug issue first as a health issue rather than a criminal justice issue. I refuse to believe. There are tens of millions of Americans who are convicted felons in this country that, but for our drug laws, would otherwise be tax-paying, law-abiding citizens. So there's certainty, I think, if you elect Hillary Clinton, government's going to grow. It's going to get bigger. The national debt is going to go to $50 trillion, and that's the rule of 72, and that's just what it doubled under Bush. So doesn't really matter if it's a Republican or a Democrat, but it doubled under Bush, and then it doubled under Obama. And with what Hillary is proposing, which is to actually increase benefits when it comes to Medicaid and Medicare, it's going to go to $50 trillion, and that burden is going to fall on young people. It's just not sustainable. It is not an option to do nothing when it comes to reforming Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. It's just not an option. And then military spending. Military spending, the Pentagon itself says that we could reduce military spending or reduce U.S. bases by 25% more than what we've done already. That's the Pentagon itself, but there hasn't been the political will to do that. I think that myself and Bill Weld bring the political will to get that done. And Bill Weld and myself, two former Republican governors serving in heavily Democrat states, getting re-elected by bigger margins the second time than the first time. I just think it speaks volumes to the fact that people really do appreciate good stewardship of tax dollars. And there is a third group. There is a third group that I'm also leading in. It's not such a big demographic, but it's really an important demographic, and that is among active military personalities. And we're putting our military in a situation that is absolutely unwinnable. And by unwinnable, these situations are horrible. You have Assad, he's a horrible human being. But have we made it any better? When we arm the Free Syrian Army and the Free Syrian Army gets beat, guess where all the arms go? ISIS, the Islamists. That's where they go, and this has compounded a horrible situation into making it an incredibly horrible situation. But this is what we do, and this is what we continue to do. And because Hillary Clinton can dot the I's and cross the T's on the names of foreign leaders and the geographic locations, this makes her qualified to put our military in such a situation. And that's the Hillary side of it. Government's going to grow. When it comes to military intervention, she is going to be a hawk. It's going to continue. We're going to continue to find ourselves as the world's policeman with no end to any of this. And by the way, if we're attacked, we should attack back. So Afghanistan, great example. Look, I supported Afghanistan. We were attacked, we attacked back. But after 7 months of being in Afghanistan, we wiped out Al-Qaeda. We wiped them out. We should have gotten out of Afghanistan after 7 months. And we should get out of Afghanistan tomorrow. And as bad as it's going to be getting out of Afghanistan tomorrow, it's going to be the same situation 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, or for some, we're going to be there for eternity. Well, that just doesn't work. And then Iraq, great example. That was regime change. In 2003, I said, don't go into Iraq. We have the military surveillance capability to see them roll out any weapons of mass destruction. If they do that, we can deal with it. But if we go into Iraq, we're going to find ourselves in a civil war that will be no end. So Hillary is about government having the answer to everything. Taxes, there's a certainty that they're going to go up. There is a certainty that the deficit is going to go it's going to double again at least. And then on the Trump side, if there is one certainty when it comes to Trump, it is uncertainty. That guy has no compass whatsoever, and he is done. He is toast. So for anybody here that's contemplating voting for Trump, how about voting for somebody that might actually be able to win? Because he is not going to win. And so when he starts talking about the deportation of 11 million undocumented workers, how's that going to work in New Mexico? Is there going to be a knock on the door, and every other house, of course, is going to be Hispanic? Then papers are going to have to be produced, and if they're not produced, what's going to happen next? This is an ugly, ugly situation. And what we should do is make it as easy as possible for somebody that wants to come into this country and work to be able to get a work visa, and a work visa should entail a background check and a social security card so that taxes get paid. Don't put the government in charge of quotas. That's the reason why we have 11 million undocumented workers here in the first place, is because the jobs exist that U.S. citizens don't want. And if you or I were in that same situation, can't get a work visa, can't get across the border, you and I would be doing that same thing. Building a wall across the border is just nuts. It's just wacko. And then when it comes to tariffs, he's going to increase the tariffs on imported goods to 35%. Heart attack or cancer, which should I choose?
Along with the Albuquerque.
Anyway, thank you all very, very much. Thank you.